As an employee, it's going to be inevitable that you will have someone that will try to obtain alcohol from you that is under 21. This might be by having a fake ID, or that they just look older and you assume that they are over 21, or they can get someone else to buy it for them. Compliance checks are a tool used by law enforcement where a person under 21 years of age is utilized for an attempted purchase of alcohol at a licensed establishment. They use their real state-issued ID or shoulder taps, where ABC minors approach people outside of a licensed establishment and ask them to purchase alcohol.
Nine wants you to know that every year thousands of young people under the age of 21 die as a result of underage drinking. And after covering way too many alcohol-related tragedies, our Andrea McCarran started investigating where some of these kids are getting all that booze. Last night at 11 o'clock, using a hidden camera, Andrea showed kids buying alcohol illegally at a Northwest Washington store. Well, obviously that's not the only place selling to minors. So tonight, Andrea's with an undercover volunteer working with the cops to see just how easy it can be to get underage booze.
This isn't going to stop underage drinking, but this is just going to make it harder for them to get.
Watch what happens when 19-year-old Jen attempts to buy alcohol at this Gaithersburg beer and wine store.
It was too easy. It was just way too easy.
She bought a bottle of wine, no questions asked.
If it was my first time, I would have been like, wow, that really just happened?
Jen is known as a UV, an undercover volunteer working with Montgomery County Police and the county's Liquor Control Board to see if licensed establishments are complying with the law.
I know some people think it's narking or, going and ratting on people, and it's not. They ask me how old I am, I tell them how old I am. I give them my real ID.
On this night, we watched as Jen walked into liquor stores, restaurants, even a convenience store.
I usually check everyone's ID, but this time I thought she was the regular one. She came every time, so
but still
that's my fault, I know that.
And she made successful buys 50% of the time.
We do want to protect their identity so that there won't be any repercussions from the clerks or from the store owners.
At restaurants, Jen orders beer or wine, and if she's served, she'll contact authorities waiting outside via phone or text. They go in, photograph her with the alcohol, and issue a citation.
The girls are not allowed to use heavy makeup or provocative clothing. If we use male UVs, they cannot have facial hair.
In fact, they're so fair that once an undercover volunteer turns 20, they will no longer be used, even though the legal drinking age is 21. Andrea McCarran, 9 News Now.
Now, here's something you might not know. For a first offense, a licensed establishment is fined $1,000 for selling to someone under 21. After that, they would have to go before the Liquor Control Board. Twice a month, Montgomery County offers free training sessions for licensed establishments to learn how to train their employees not to make these same mistakes.
If you are a business and have a valid retail sales license, you must not sell, deliver, or give away any alcohol to any person under the age of 21. A valid form of identification must be government issued, include a photograph and a date of birth. Selling alcohol to a person under 21 can include a criminal violation. Violations are misdemeanors. Fines for violation can be up to $2,000, or jail time can be up to a year. And for a licensee, they can be fined a minimum of $1,000 or have a 10-day suspension for a first-time offense. Minors 19 years or older may serve, sell, and dispense alcohol beverages in the course of their employment. For example, if you're a bartender, waiter or waitress, store clerk. An exception, you must be 21 years of age or older to serve during beer or wine tastings. Minors cannot enter, remain in, or loiter in or about a place licensed for on-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages. Licensees or their employees cannot allow any minor to remain in or loiter in or about their place. Minors are prohibited from entering a bar, tavern, or cocktail lounge, and prohibited from the separate bar cocktail lounge of a restaurant, and prohibited from sitting at the bar in a one-room restaurant. Exemptions for minor restrictions includes restaurants, railroad, and airplanes. In a partitioned area within the premises where the access is controlled to prevent minors from entering the place. Legal activities at sports arenas, baseball parks, convention centers, multi-purpose arenas, fairgrounds, or live performance theaters. Exemptions for minor restrictions are catered events, wineries, breweries, employed servers 19 years and older, musicians and singers 18 years and older while in the course of their employment. All licensees must post a sign in at least 1-inch lettering that states, "Admittance of persons under 21 years of age prohibited by law." The sign must be posted over or on the door of each entrance to the licensed premises, and this includes employee-only entrances. Signs are not required for premises where minors are allowed. However, the place or bar tops may need to be posted. Alcohol is an age-restricted product. Proof of age is required in the form of a valid government-issued ID and includes a photograph and date of birth. A person cannot refuse to show ID to a police officer when they possess, purchase, attempt to purchase, or consume alcohol beverages, or they are in a premises. A vertical identification card generally means the person is under 21. In 2011, Idaho switched from an over-the-counter system to a central issuance system. Applicants are issued a temporary, which is valid for 30 days. This slide shows an Idaho driver's license with common security features. Always ask the person to remove their ID from their wallet or person. Determine the type of ID you are given. Compare the ID to the person, and look for the words under 21 or under 18, and if possible, use an identification guide. Check for missing, partially missing, or altered state logos, holograms, and missing or questionable wording. Check for equal spacing between words and lines. Check the colors of the card background. Check the birth and expiration dates. Glue lines or bumpy surfaces indicate tampering. Blurring of letters and typeset consistency. Check corners and the back for indications of pasting. Words, pictures, and designs have been placed on the front and or back of IDs that are only visible with the use of an ultraviolet light source. Opacity marks appears as an embedded perforated marking. These markings are only visible by using a light source directed through the ID, and the patterns will vary by state. Ghost images. This security feature uses the standard ID photo and reduces it in size, makes a less clear copy of it, and then places it on another area of the ID. Good quality ghost images appear as though you can look right through the photo. Barcodes and data chips contain specific information about the owner of the ID. False identifications. A fake ID doesn't have to be good. It only has to be good enough. 3 categories of fake identification include borrowed, fraudulent use, uses friend's ID that is over 21, or altered, which changes the letters, numbers on a real ID, or fake manufactured IDs, which can easily be purchased online or sold as novelty items. To detect, compare the picture and ask questions. Ask the person about information on the ID. For an example, what is the address on the ID? Have the person presenting the ID sign a separate paper with their signature and make a comparison. Ask for another form of ID with signatures on it. With an altered ID, look for information that has been added to the ID. Lines that vary in alignment, font, or clarity. Any erasing of information and then overwriting it. Fuzzy sections around critical information. Old information that can be seen around the edges of the writing. Or a photo added. Creases between the photo and remainder of the ID. Or if lamination was added. Keeps the photo and information on the ID. For fake and manufactured IDs, these IDs are produced to look acceptable. They can be computer scanned and printed and can be photocopied. So look for security features that can be easily seen. If the seals of authenticity can be seen easily without difficulty, the ID could be fake. Check weight and thickness of the ID. Check color resolutions of the ID. And check fonts of the ID. Online counterfeit IDs are becoming more and more common. These IDs are fake and can be checked against the Idaho Checking ID Guide. Is this following identification card real or fake? It's fake, and here's why. If you are presented with a false identification, you can ask for a second ID in the form of a credit or debit card, quiz the card holder about basic information on the card, or ask them to sign a blank piece of paper, then compare the signatures. Tell the person that you are calling the local police department to verify the ID. Either the customer will wait for the police to show up, or they will leave your business. If they leave your business without the ID, you have abandoned property. It is not worth a physical altercation to hold on to an ID. Give the ID back if the customer is confrontational.